Today is the day I grant you peasants with the privilege to observe me in full, royal, regal, sparkly, ruler, monarchical class attire to solidify my status around here. Nah, man, it's bullshit. Y'all know I can't do that. I discovered this top along with this layer, along with all of this. And I said, I really like to dress in white, but I try to not dress in white a lot because of how risky it is. I want to give it a shot because if I have a sparkly shirt and I have can you call this a crown? We'll call it a crown. A crown that sparkles, then what would it be like to have sparkly things? And it doesn't look too bad. I just gotta get used to it. Do any of you remember that topic that I made a year ago, 2 years ago? Who cares? Basically, I was talking about how is it important what name you're called? If your name is John, does it matter that someone calls you Joseph instead? Does that offend you? Or if your name is John, but someone pronounces it as Jean or something like that, does it matter? Does it matter if people get your name right or wrong? I honestly don't even remember much of what I said in that video. There was a time in which I felt I don't care about names because at the end of the day, if I know I'm being addressed, I'm being referred to, why would I make a big deal about you not getting my name right? And I guess as a retail worker who gets disrespected normally on the regular, then I think that is something I'm going to have to learn to accept and understand that in the grand scheme of things, it really isn't that important because this is an offense that's going to continuously happen. So do I really want to invest my time and energy being upset over it and confronting somebody to get it right? Or do I just want to live a little more simply and be like, okay, they got it wrong, so what? Whatever needed to be addressed got addressed. But then ultimately I said, yeah, nowadays as an older person, I do think that unless I'm enslaved to a job in which I lose my rights, I give up on me as a person for 8 hours. Outside of that, I think that yes, it does matter how you address me and what name I have, because if you were to call me Suzanne, I'm not going to respond to Suzanne because that is not a name that has ever been associated with me. It's not a name that I use. It's not a name I would consider using. And therefore, it is improper to call me Suzanne because I'm not going to respond to being called Suzanne. You can't be offended by that. I think that if I were an actress and I played a character that was Suzanne, maybe depending on how recent that is, and maybe if it's a role that got me a lot of fame and position, something like that, then I can understand why you going like, it's Suzanne. That would make sense. But outside of that, even as an actress, I did that as a role, a profession. Once again, as a worker, I gave up on myself. I gave up on my right. I sold myself. But outside of that, have some goddamn fucking common sense. Address me by my real proper name. That entire preamble stated, just to get you guys familiar with the extension of that topic, which is what I'm going to be discussing today. I happened to be watching a short that involved Kate Middleton, and like always, the comment section goes ape shit over how she has not been Kate Middleton for the past 12 years and you need to learn to get her name right. Given that that is a different culture, a different status, a different shit, different kind of family, different dynamic, different, then I thought, well, what does it really mean to change a name superficially? Because if you're originally supposed to be Kate Middleton, if you're Catherineizing your name because that's what the firm requires, then you cannot be upset at people who met you as Kate Middleton, who the prince partied with. That's what people remember. I'm like that. I remember the very first thing that you teach me. Therefore, for me, she can be the Queen of England. And I'm still gonna think of her as Kate Middleton because in my life, in my mind, as a public figure, that's how she was born to me. When I met that character, that's how I know her as. Someone like Bill Pullman, for example, the actor. I met him as President Whitmore because of his presidential character in Independence Day. It took me ages to actually look at the credits roll and realize what his actor real life name was. Amy Lee. I always called her the Evanescence singer, the Evanescence vocalist. She's from Evanescence. She's Mrs. Evanescence. It took me forever to learn that her name was Amy Lee. But if I were down the streets and I went like, "You sing for Evanescence," I'm pretty sure she would respond to that. It has been a significant portion of her life. Kate Middleton has only been addressed royally for like a quarter of her life. There's a big difference there. That's immediately my first impression. That's immediately how I feel. Now I'm going to show you guys some of the comments that I saved from that shorts, and that's where this video idea came from, which honestly I had addressed Kate Middleton, and whether or not it's disrespectful to address somebody by their alternative name now. And we can go into other territory. For instance, Ellen Page. I met her as Ellen Page. In the movie Inception, she was Ellen Page. In the movie X-Men Days of Future Past, she was Ellen Page. Are they going to go back to those movies and change it to Elliot Page? Are they going to ask me to turn in the movies that I own, like Days of Future Past? Are you going to ask me to turn that in so that you can edit the portion where the credits roll to call her Elliot Page in Inception? Are you going to do the same thing? Are you actually revisiting that material and editing it to take into account the change that this person underwent? I don't think it's disrespectful at all to be like, hey, back in the day, Ellen Page played these characters. Because to say Elliot Page played them would, I guess, invalidate the memories that we created from the time in which this individual was known as Ellen Page. If she was in any award shows, that's how we knew her to be. I don't think it's anything disrespectful to go by your former title. And that pretty much sums up my opinion about the whole Kate Middleton situation and how people get offended by that. That is part of your identity. That is what you were born with. That's what you inherited on this earth. So you just cannot really be losing your mind. And does she really feel that way? Does she go to her castle, to her palace, lock herself in her room and have a meltdown over how the internet, YouTube's comment section or YouTube shorts or YouTube videos call her Kate Middleton? I don't think she cares and will ever find out that I say that myself, you know? Let's get into it. Kate hasn't been Kate Middleton in a decade. Now she is the Princess of Wales. And if we were to give her a test in school or take her somewhere, just somewhere basic, I know that these people don't frequent places like this, but if she were over here in the States and I gave her a sheet of paper that goes, all right, write to your first name, last name, phone number, reason for your call, and I'll give you a call back. My name is Princess Wales. This is my number. And the reason I'm calling you is because blah, blah, blah. It probably wouldn't even be her giving me the call. It would probably be one of her millions of assistants. But if she were an average person, if we were to give her the average person treatment, but we respected her title, it's like, okay, you're the Princess of Wales. Princess, your burger's ready. Or Mrs. Wales, here's your order. Her name is not Kate Middleton, hasn't been for 12 years, 4 exclamation marks. Catherine, Princess of Wales. And that appears to be, if this is really that person on their profile, it appears to be an older person. So I guess for older people, the influence of the royal fam was just different, but for the modern person who doesn't believe in that type of stuff, typically, maybe that's where the conflict, the clash comes from, whatever. It's crazy that these people, when I read their comment, I can feel their blood boiling. I can feel physically how agitated they are. And I'm like, I cannot imagine a life in which I have to worry about something as pathetic as a name. And I think that the reason I developed that is because my name is wrong so often that I learned to not worry about it too much. Agreed, every time she introduces herself, it's Catherine, not Kate. She's doing it for a reason. Come correct with some basic respect. I guess the reason is because now, as a royal, she has to have a regal sounding name. Again, when I'm out, sometimes I introduce myself as Zam, sometimes I use my real name, other times I use my maternal last name, meaning mom's second last name, meaning the last name of her mother's family. Because that's my favorite last name. Those are the people I was raised by, grew up with. So it's like, I really think that my name should be that. And that's what I've been using lately. And it brings me great joy and pride. But deep down, legally, I know that on paper, I have to address myself by my legal name. Full first name and real last name. I guess that when someone gets my name wrong, it's not a big deal. Nobody comes to my defense going like, her name is actually blah, 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 or it's pronounced this and that, because since I'm poor and I'm a peasant and I'm from the bottom of society, I am not worthy of respect, quite like the princess with the sparkly and $1 million net worth, right? I'm not as impressive, therefore not as worthy of defense. HRH, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, not Kate Middleton for over 10 years. Please help us convince others to address/talk about her using her correct name. It's disrespectful to continue using the name she used prior to marriage. Thanks. It is not disrespectful. That is her original real first name. When she went to school, she was not writing HRH, Catherine, Princess of Wales. She always wrote Kate Middleton or whatever. Is her name originally Catherine Middleton? I think that is a part of your history. You married into this institution. So because you only married to it, you weren't born to it, why does it really matter? Why is it a big deal? And why is it that regular ass folks like us make it a big deal? That's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of here, what I'm trying to understand here. Convince me, because I'm not convinced. And even if I got married and I changed my last name and someone refers to me by my maiden name, I'm not going to be offended by that, because that is what's on my birth certificate. So when I get married, am I going to have to reprint a new birth certificate and be like, well, my original name is this, that, and that, but since I got married now, am I going to have to hyphenate it? No. My school yearbooks are still going to show me for what I am originally. And even if I became a doctor, I'm not going to demand that you address me as Dr. Zam or Dr. last name. None of that. It doesn't matter. In an emergency, in a war, in a fire, in an earthquake, that shit is not going to matter. Please call her Catherine. Catherine, Princess of Wales, is the correct way to call her. And the eye roll emoji makes it even better. Sure, the Princess of Wales. Now she's the Princess of Wales, but also Wales. All right, now she has the Marine Kingdom to watch over, to rule over. Don't you love that when someone, in an effort to correct someone who's not even that incorrect, they end up incorrecting themselves, they end up more wrong themselves? It's embarrassing. I'm glad I screen captured it, because maybe this person might catch that. Many other people may begin to point it out. They'll edit it and then the original comment gets lost forever. She is not Kate Middleton, use her correct title. It's disrespectful to use her maiden name. Yesterday, while I was at the gym, I saw a news story with a caption that read, Kate Middleton is hospitalized after some kind of abdominal slash stomach surgery, not cancerous. I forget which news station did that. And then I said, ooh, I'm glad that news stations do not have live comments, especially from Britain, because I can imagine them going like, you need to change it to the Prince of Wales. You need to change that to Catherine. Blah, blah, blah. Like, can you imagine that? How dramatic and embarrassing that would be. I'm glad that that's not a thing. And that's honestly, ultimately, where I got the full picture for this topic. I said, let me screenshot these comments because they will be useful. I wanted to make a video about trolling those trollers, like the trollers being those who are mad that they still call her Kate Middleton. But then when I saw that news thing yesterday, I said to myself, this is the sign that I needed to finally get this topic going, and I know exactly how I'm going to go about it. Get her bloody name right. She's not Kate Middleton, for fuck's sake. I don't know, you guys. Maybe it's just you guys know that I'm bad about feeling things like empathy and possibly even compassion or whatever the hell. Those words that require for you to soften up a bit. It's something that I'm working on, and it's not something that it's impossible for me to display. It's just that that's not my default. It's not like daily I'm soft like that. But I'm just glad that these things are not issues that I have, ultimately. That I'm not out there defending celebrities who have no idea about my existence and that I get nothing from them. Sure, I may like Evanescence music and I like tuning into it and enjoying it and singing my lungs out, but it's not like I feel like I have a relationship with the band just because I know their discography and their history. Nothing like that. They're strangers to me, and that's how it should be. I just cannot imagine a life in which I come out with a sword, two swords, or whatever weapon of choice you may opt for, and like defend someone like that to death. No, you haven't done anything for me. And I'm not saying you're not deserving of defense because you haven't served me yet, but I'm just saying it's a name. It's a name. Be grateful that we even address or talk about her at all. So in a sense, those shorts created about her are about homage. The last one that I watched was about how she was with the Queen of Denmark and she was about to walk to her right, and then there was another person walking with them. So Kate became the center person, and Kate performed the protocol of standing on the unoccupied side of the queen. So therefore, she was on the side, the queen was in the middle, and then the other lady was to the right. That's what the short was about. One of the shorts was about. And usually the shorts that filter into my feed, they tend to be about the ways that she emulates, I don't know, Diana, or is nod to the queen, things like that. Positive, nice things. But there you are, completely dismissing the point that this creator highlighted positive traits about her all because of her little ass name. Well, there you guys have it. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that my explanation made sense. And again, I'm not saying this in an effort to encourage you to dismiss or disregard the way that someone prefers to be called or addressed. But if you're not wrong, be confident about it. There is a history. There is a record that this individual's name originally was that. We can't deny it. Why get mad about it? It is her history. And if it were me, I guarantee you I would continue to have this attitude about it. Sometimes I just wish that I knew a genuine, real, absolute royal-ish person, like someone from that actual society, to be able to ask them questions and see what the public doesn't get to see and be like, so me as a regular person, I have encountered material about you and this is how it's presented. How does that make you feel? Like now that you have become aware, is it offensive? Do you feel like, okay, I get what they're saying, I get why they're doing that, I get where they're coming from, but no big deal. I really wish I could ask them, but that's never gonna happen. All right, you guys, I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. I broke one of my, what do you call this? Freaking, I guess, costume materials. Nah, loose hair is the best way to go for this look. I don't like to look too different from what I regularly look like. I think that's the key to authenticity.